All right, my drawing's all ready to go. I'm going to use a big flat brush, 3/4 inch wide, big long bristles. This is one of my older brushes. Handle's quite. I'm just going to get it nicely rinsed off. Make sure it's nice and clean. And I'm just going to start wetting in. Nice and tight up against my chicken coop. Lots of water. Kind of cut my chicken coop out, splash water around. I'm not going to get real tight with it. I'm just kind of wetting between my pencil lines. I just kind of go up against my chicken coop because I kind of want those lines hard. You know, I want those nice roof lines. But the tree shapes and things can be loose and wild. I'm going to paint this fairly wet onto wet. Really wet paint and really wet paper. This Arches paper is great because it really soaks in that water quickly. It holds a lot of water and it won't dry out too fast. Working fairly quickly. Just want to make sure I kind of go between my pencil lines, wetting areas. I'm going to wet around my rooster a little bit, up in my trees. I really don't want any standing water, so I kind of keep looking at eye level to see if I have any standing water, and I just kind of pull it around a little bit. Pull that water around, pull it off the edges, pull it around a little bit, pull it around my rooster. That rock nice and wet. Add a little bit more water, cut out that roof line. Pull it around a little bit. All right, I'm going to mix up a little bit of cerulean blue, a little bit of water, a little bit of cerulean blue. Looking at where my sky is poking through these trees. A little more cerulean blue. Look how it runs into that water. I'm nice and wet. My colors are really starting to run, spread out. That's what I want. I'm working really wet paper, really wet paint, so working wet onto wet. A little more cerulean blue. This is going to be the shadow side of my chicken coop, so I'm going to start with a little bit of cerulean blue on it. Some on the shadow sides of my foliage. Kind of my yard area there. I'm going to put some shadows in. Just putting a little bit of blue under the roof, on the roof. I'm going to have all my colors kind of everywhere around my painting. Just adding a little bit more cerulean blue. I like to let my colors mix on the paper. That way you get more variation of color, and I think you get more interest. All right, I'm going to start in with a little bit of lemon yellow. Sorry, my big hand's in the way there. Just mix up a little bit of water, a little bit of lemon yellow. Lots of pigment, a little bit of water. Starting with that deciduous tree right behind the chicken coop. Oops, I need a little bit more paint here. Kind of running out of that lemon yellow. Might as well grab a little new Gamboge as well. A little bit more lemon yellow. Squeeze it right on top of the paint that's already there. In my other corner is a little bit of new Gamboge. Again, you can see my palette's a little bit dirty. I just put colors right on top of old colors. Just a little bit of that lemon yellow in. You can see that I'm getting some green edges because that blue is mixing with that yellow. So I'm getting all three colors, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue still showing through, and some green now as well. A little of my lawn area, just let those colors bleed together a little bit. Don't overwork them too much. Don't touch them too much. Just let them kind of bleed together. Use your brush as a delivery tool. Just pick up the paint. Let it go on your paper. Let it run in the water. Just kind of move it around a little bit and try to corral it a little bit. Again, I want to use this color kind of everywhere throughout my painting. This is the sunny side of my chicken coop, so I'm going to make it nice and bright. Go around my rooster. A little bit of that color on my shadow side as well. Want all those colors mixing together. Over my roof. Now I'm going to add a little bit of my red. So I'm going to start with a little bit of rose madder. It's a nice light red. When it dries, it kind of turns a nice pink color. I'm just going to put some in my shadow areas here, underneath my roof line, on that shadow side of my chicken coop. In my trees. Again, I'm kind of looking at my value sketch. Where do I have some darks there? Just adding some darks with some of that red. Again, that red mixes with the yellow to create oranges, mixes with the blues to make purples, and I have some red areas. So again, you get all that variation with that color. I'm starting with a little bit of phthalo blue. I want to go a little bit darker, and a little bit of new Gamboge to make a nice, rich, dark green. I'm going to my foreground, so I want a nice warm color right up front. Look how that water how that paint just sifts into that water, just reacts so nicely with that water and starts creating really interesting effects. Dry my brush on my towel a little bit. I like painting on the towel just so I can keep my brush at a nice temperature. A little bit more of that phthalo blue. A little bit of the lemon yellow. Makes up a little bit different green. Come back and I'm going to start putting in some of my fir trees. There are those real dark fir trees that I have in my value sketch. They're behind the building, behind the chicken coop, cutting out that deciduous tree. We're using those really dark colors to cut out the chicken coop. You'll watch how the roof comes out here now that I've gone nice and dark behind it. Roof kind of starts coming forward a little bit. So I left those nice hard lines when I was wetting it. Right up next to my chicken coop. A little bit more phthalo blue. A little bit of lemon yellow. Mix it up. A little bit more water. Come back in. I want to go nice and dark. I want to look at my darks on my value sketch. Start putting some of those nice, rich darks. Come right down to my chicken coop, right down to the roof line. Nice loose trees back here. Don't overwork them too much. You're still nice and wet back here, so you can still get lots of pigment in there. Tilt that up, let colors run a little bit. Trying not to touch the areas too much. I'm just letting that color kind of mix together. Just going to dry my brush, pull some color around a little bit, pull color to the pencil lines, sharpen up some edges a little bit. But again, I'm not going over my colors too much. Try to keep your watercolor as fresh as you can. A little bit of a shadow on that rock or on his stage there. A little bit darker in my foliage up front here. Just a few last darks in here. Dry my brush. I just want to take out that dark spot up there, a little bit of pooling paint. All right, I think I'm going to stop there. And I'll let that dry, and then I'll come in and put in my second wash.